Good morning, I'm Jenny Green and I'm going to do a little dash cam video on my way to work this morning because I'm driving past and I'm going to slow down and actually grab my phone off the little thing here and videotape something in a second. 23 years ago in 1995, I was a 21-year-old girl and we got married and moved to Gilbert, Arizona, and I worked at Pretzel Maker. I had been a waitress at the Olive Garden and at Stanford's up in Portland. Even though I had my associate's degree in Russian and pre-law and was working on a law degree, for some reason I came home and decided I wanted to wait tables. And I don't know, I love the Olive Garden. So I'd been a waitress and we moved to Phoenix just on a whim because I had grown up here. My grandparents were still in Paradise Valley and I had a lot of family and everything down here. So we got married, and the weekend that we got married, we moved down to Phoenix, Arizona, and actually we lived out in Gilbert. And I was managing a Pretzel Maker. I actually had two locations, one up at Los Arcos, which is gone, and so that one in Scottsdale, and then one up in the Christown Mall near Paradise Valley. And so I would leave early in the morning, 6:37 in the morning, and actually maybe even earlier than that, hit the road from Gilbert and drive up to either Christown or Los Arcos, depending on the day. And 23 years ago, as a brand new 21-year-old newlywed, in the meantime, my life has taken me all over the place. We then moved to another house in Gilbert, had 4 kids, adopted a 5th kid, had a tumor, had somebody else have to take the 5th kid and all of my kids while I was dying, and then I didn't die. I'm trying to think of all the houses. Okay, I'm gonna touch my phone, sorry. Disconnect, touch, just look over here and I'll tell you what this is in just a second. But in the meantime, then we moved up to Northeast Mesa, Los Andes, bought a piece of property in the Orange Groves that we were working on a $1.4 million house on, sold that property, moved somewhere else in Mesa, and then after we had our 5th kid, see all this Walmart and all this stuff over here in the AMC Theater? I'm on Cooper, heading north up to the 60 here, right where Gilbert and Mesa meet in the corners, and right over here, that AMC Theater right there. And there's a Texas Roadhouse and a Charleston's right here. Sorry, I had to record that a little bit in advance, but so in the meantime, moved all over the country. So Mesa, and then another house in Mesa, and then once we had our 4th kid, and I was starting to get sick, didn't realize that I had the valley fever yet, and then I got pregnant with number 5, and so then we moved up to Portland full-time, back home with my parents, and built custom home and did a bunch of adventuring up in Portland, Oregon. And then from Portland, I got really, really sick, moved, that's where I had my valley fever and almost died, moved back to Los Andes, and then had my near-death experience, had my tumor, all that stuff. My friend killed herself, I had a mental meltdown, and then we moved to, get this, we decided to go to South Carolina because I've always wanted to live in the South, and after I survived my tumor, moved out to the South thinking the grass is going to be greener there. And it's funny, as I was going through the suicide of my friend, how everything, like I just lost my perspective on reality. And also I have to say, honestly, coming out of my surgery, I was on a ton of narcotics, so I don't think that I was thinking super clearly. And we lost a business and got into a fight with one of our business partners, and so sold that home. To move to South Carolina, we first had to live in Arkansas for a year while we were building our house to stay with my mother-in-law because we couldn't find a house to buy. We had to do a custom build in South Carolina. Thought the grass was greener out there, and got to South Carolina, and within a week I was sicker than I've ever been before. My C. diff had not been dealt with by the doctors. I was antibiotic resistant, and being 50,000 miles away from home was a complete nightmare. So from South Carolina, things got really bad and I was very sick and my life was in danger in more ways than one. So family had a little intervention and said, why don't you come out to Utah? They gave me options: Utah, Tucson, Oregon. Here's a couple of different options that you can pick. And we picked North Ogden, Utah, where we moved into my sister's basement for 6 months. And as soon as I was on my feet a little bit and our horse property in South Carolina had sold, then we moved into a rental house that I thought that we could do for several years. A couple months into the rental house, our landlord decided to sell, and a house that had been on the market for 5 years sold in 1 hour with my great staging skills, I must say. So that house sold, and it was a hot market too. So then we moved to downtown Ogden to a little luxury high-rise condo that was my heart and soul. And honestly, I thought that that's where I was going to stay. My marriage had completely dissolved. My husband and I were separated, but my kids were happy. And I have a collection of snow boots that were just so super fun. And I thought that was where my life was. So I was looking at buying a house up there and had a couple pieces of property picked out, and had KBH Architect, my famous architect, thinking of some Scandinavian modern home designs that we could build, Alpine chalet style, and that's where I thought I was. And then I decided to reopen our Windshield Express company and move back to Phoenix so that I could be with my husband and try to reconcile our family. So here I am. How many different places have I lived? And I didn't even go through all the ones in Oregon, because first we had a rental house, and then we had a different house, and then we built a house, and then we stayed with my mom for a week or so before school got done, and we moved down to Arizona. Anyway, I think one time I added it up, and with the rental houses and the vacation properties that we stayed in for longer than a month, from the time that I left Gilbert, Arizona, until today, I've been in something like 24 different houses, and that's a lot. That's so many different houses. I'm so tired of packing. My things are so beat up, and my furniture is so destroyed from all the moving. 24 different houses. And today I drive up the same exact street that I drove up in 1995 on the way to Pretzel Maker in Scottsdale. I'm going to work in our windshield office in Tempe, Safe Pro Auto Glass. Fabulous, fabulous windshield company. Love it. I'm going to work in our windshield business for a little bit. After the kids get out of school, 6 or 7 hours in, I'm going to head back home, and I will get off the freeway back there where I used to get off in 1995. And every day when I get off the freeway there, I think about how much things have changed. And my favorite book of all time is The Alchemist, and I never knew I was going to live it in real life, but I get off the freeway there, and I can remember sitting there in my little red Toyota pickup truck that I bought with my first couple of paychecks, brand new, hot out of the dealership, way back in the day, and I would sit there at that freeway exit at Cooper and the 60, and where the Walmart and the AMC Theater was, there was this huge alfalfa field, acres and acres, hundreds of acres of alfalfa, and nothing. It was the end of the line. Then I'd drive for another 3 miles until I got to our home, our brand new little track house that we had built out there in Gilbert, which was just like farm town. And I would sit there at that intersection waiting for that light to change so that I could turn right. I think it was only 2 lanes going one way and 2 lanes going the other way. Tiny little road. There was hardly anybody else getting off with me at Gilbert. And right there in the middle of the alfalfa fields by the side where there's a Charleston's restaurant now, there's a bright green sign that said, "Welcome to Gilbert, population 36,000. Gilbert now is 300 something thousand. I don't even know what it is, but every day when I get off the freeway there, I think about how much things have changed, and how what used to be rolling alfalfa fields and farmers and pickup trucks and the end of the road is now one of the biggest metropolises on the West Coast, and just endless amenities and shopping. But at the same time, I'm still the same person, and I feel so much every time I get off the freeway. We don't change. I don't know why I'm crying. I have to go in the office with my makeup messed up. But I love having this moment every day to drive up that way and then back down that way and sit where I used to sit where I used to sit and think about where I've been and reground myself in what has always been important, and what will always be important to me. And just like the alchemist, he goes all over the world searching for that treasure, searching for the pyramids, gets there, learns all these lessons along the way, and then he ends up right back in the church, right in his little village, and the treasure was right there all along. I feel like in life, there are so many times that we go all over the world. I've been digging and digging and digging to find what's missing in my life and where that place is, the front porch with the picket fence and the goats and the chickens in the south and the big custom craftsman, ridiculous, crazy, amazing, I'm going to build that house again, up in Portland, Oregon. I've been all over the world looking for the treasure. I cannot cry my makeup off. And 23 years later, when I get off the freeway at Gilbert and Cooper, none of those things that I found in my travels to the pyramids, shit, they are utterly meaningless. Yes, I've collected some beautiful friends and beautiful experiences along the way, but at the end, it's still home, family, my mom, my dad, my sisters, my crazy, funny brothers, my same babies, the same music. I'm still listening to my same Les Miserables CD that Brendan Harris gave me when I was 19 years old. I literally listened to it on the way to work. Jason never knew that Brendan gave me that CD, nor does he need to, and he doesn't watch my YouTube. So there you go, people. So lesson learned. It's fun to adventure, but sometimes it's really important to just root and ground yourself and see where you've been and see where you still are. Sit where you sat and sit where you sit. Just be there, be present, and see your life come full circle. Anyway, funny little experience. Never thought I'd be right back driving on my way to work past Gilbert and Cooper. I feel like my life has bookends and it's all wrapped up nice and tidy with a bow. Right back in Santiago's little church. So, okay, so where you've been. Appreciate the changes and appreciate those things that don't change. Have a great day. I'm going to go sell some windshields, get some stuff done, and drink my smoothies and sell doTERRA and also work on my custom home. So, peace, love, health, and happy windshields, y'all. Mwah.